All right, so here we are. We're in the putting back together stage. It's taking me a little while to get to this part because I was having to wait for my center differential to get welded, and a couple parts from the dealership that it was on back order. Here's my center diff. Had to wait for that. That came from Team Rip Engineering, or TRE. Some people know it. One of the problems I had was I accidentally misspelled his name on the money order, so I guess the bank wouldn't cash the check or the money order. So part of that being my problem, but I waited a little while to get it back though, even after I sent it. So that's neither here nor there. I finally got it back, but just trying to remember how to get all this crap back together now. So I've already put a portion of it back in the transmission. The part that goes over here, let's see, the gearing in there. I just want to go ahead and put that in there. That wasn't too hard. One thing I will say is that those bolts, they only go, the pattern there only goes one way. It's easier if you have this tilted, if you had it tilted upright when you put it down in there. Makes it easier as far as the installation and putting it in there. Once I got it in there, I was able to tighten it down. It was all right. So you can look at my disassembly videos. That's basically just the opposite of it. I had some of it already put back together. I had to take it back apart because apparently I was looking through the Mitsubishi manual and some stuff that other people had posted, and I had some of it put together incorrectly. But basically right now, I'm going to spin this around. I'm down to this section right here. I've got everything ripped out. I hope you can hear me all right. I got the fan going. It's a little hot out here on a summer day. I wasn't anticipating on doing this during the summer. But basically, this is the only portion that I have right in here. I didn't want to take that out because it's mainly a pain to get back in there. But there were a few things I wanted to go over as far as the reassembly, and I'm just spinning it back over. I had the pin out of my hoist. Now, one thing I will mention, sorry, I'm trying to get that in there. I'll worry about it later. I know I'm pretty much discussing cleanliness and how, and so on. My garage is always a mess, but I do want to stress cleanliness. You don't want a bunch of dirt in your transmission. It'll mess things up. So it may look like a mess here, but I've got my organization, to where I know where everything's at. I've cleaned my towels and stuff, even though they may not look it. But cleanliness is very important as far as getting things back together. So I'll wipe everything down very well before I put things back together. But a couple things I wanted to mention as far as the installation, and it's going to be hard for me to do every bit of this, but I'll do the parts that I really feel need to be covered. I went to put these clutch packs back in there, and I want to make mention there is a direction it needs to go. Okay, if you get it in there backwards, if you see these rings here, if you have it in there backwards, it may not want to go, and you'll be trying to figure out why you can't get it to sit down. All these little teeth here do need to line up together. Okay, but this portion right here is going to go on the bottom. Okay, and what I do, I had all these soaking with transmission fluid. It's been sitting a while, so I'm going to have to take and clean all this crap all over again and soak it with transmission fluid and so on. But this is going to be the bottom end. If the transmission, if we're looking at it this direction, it's going to go down that way, where this little step portion goes to the bottom. And if you have it that way, it'll look like everything's installed correctly, and then you'll be wondering why you can't get this piece right here to sit all the way down. So that's very important. This little step has to go down. The flat side will go up. Okay, and this portion right here will go on top of that. But this section right here with the sun gears, sun gear and the planetary gears, that'll go in between here. Okay, and this will go in the middle, and then this part will sit on top of this portion right here. Okay. Also, too, the other thing I want to mention, one thing I just about screwed up, I didn't realize, very important. There's an oil hole right here, and there is a oil hole right here. If you don't have that lined up right, well, you're gonna have problems. Looking in the transmission, there is a oil hole right there, if you can see it, and then there is another one right there. Okay, so those two holes. So that basically needs to be lined up with those when you put it back in. Keep from having problems. So I didn't know that. I didn't realize it. Luckily, I didn't go ahead and put it all together and have it complete before I realized that was a problem. I really wasn't in the mood to have to take it all apart, but I'd rather tear it back apart and put it back correctly versus put the transmission all the way back in the car and burn it up because of lack of oil and then have to pull it out. So, but other than that, I want to get back to installing. I'm going to clean these up, set those back in there. I'll set this portion down in here, and then, oops, sorry, I'm probably off camera there. I'll get my clutches put back in, my sun and planetary gears put back in there, and then this portion will go back on. That's it for this one. I'll try and, if there's anything more important, I'll come back and tell you what I did, or before I get to do it. But anyway, just wanted to point those two things out because those were two very important things that I figured out when I was trying to put it together, because I actually did have this the wrong way. I had it like so, and I was trying to get that on there, and that's when I realized, wait a minute, something ain't right. So I had it upside down. So just want to point that out and that. But anyway, I'll stop for now. I'll make some more video footage when I get to anything that's more complicated or feels it needs explaining. So, all right, so I'm back at it again already. Already, before you guys start leaving comments in my inbox yelling at me, I was already about to give you the wrong direction to do it. So anyway, if you've already got the clutches installed the way I said, sorry, it's the other way. So I realized it after I made that other portion. So this portion right here, this step part, goes on top, okay? And the reason for that, this piece right here is angled, okay, and it rides on top of that. Now what I will say is that you need to get this portion here installed first, and really what we need to do, we need to take this piece right here, okay, and sit down there in the middle, okay, because it's got to be able to spin, okay. I've already got my clutches and everything installed. I've soaked them in transmission fluid once again, cleaned them all off once again. Soaked them in transmission fluid once again, put them all in there. Those are all lined up. The only other piece I really got to get is this section right here, which I was working on, but I decided, wait a minute, I think I told you guys wrong, so I went back and looked at the video I took. I was, oops, my bad. Told you the wrong way. I'm human, I make mistakes. So, all right, so that portion being done, I will say this right here, this is not going to go around. This is not going to go around the gears as you see, okay? So what you need to do, now that we've got that one gear in there, and take that out, we can take this whole piece right here. Hold on, I'm going to take this portion out right here as well. Make it a little bit easier to hold on to, hopefully. Okay, and hold on just a moment. I had everything pretty much clean as far as the inside. Everything was already installed, and I had a towel sitting over it, and it's just been sitting for a little while, just a short amount of little time. Had a little bit of dust flying, so I'm just going to wipe that little section off right there. But it is clean. So anyway, we're going to take this. I'm being careful. It's kind of hard to do this one-handed, so I'm going to try. I definitely don't want to mess everything up. Got to get this in here like so. So you may have to spin it around a little bit because you've got to get all those little clutches to line up. Okay. And once you get all that taken care of, then you put everything else in. I think I've got it now. I may have to spin it around a little bit so it lines up with all the splines for each of the clutches. And you can see as I'm turning it, if you can see in there, hold on, you can see those little gears moving. Those are the planetary gears. Okay. So you get that in there. Now we can go back over here, get this portion. I believe this is the portion I just took out. We'll find out here in a minute. Okay, so we'll put that portion, line that up in there, like so. And so you got another little speck here. I don't like all these specks, so I'm very anal about having any dirt on anything before I install it. Okay, so sorry, I was looking at it. Sorry if I was off camera. Okay, so put that piece in there like so. It'll slide down in there. You see it spinning. It'll stop. You just spin it, and then it'll slide on down in there. Okay. Now then, now that you've got that done, you can take this piece right here. Okay, and that's still relatively clean. Well, completely clean, I should say. The only thing that's really on it that may look dirty is just some of the transmission lube. Now we can set this on top of that, like so. Okay. Let me see. I believe I have that right. I will double check. And then after that, this piece right here will go on top. Now this ring, there's a little ring in there that can come out when you flip it over. So what you may want to do, so I've got this assembly goo. What's his name? John at can't remember the place, but anyway, one of the transmission websites where he does it. Anyway, where I got some of these parts, he suggested that on one of his videos. So of course I'm following what they say, so that's what I got. I just put a dab of that around it to keep that ring from falling off, because it will if you don't do that. You get all this cleaned up, flip it over, put it on there, it's gonna fall out. Anyway, and this is the part that you've got to be careful of with those little O-rings. Be careful with those. Make sure you got those rings in there. If you've got to replace those, by all means do so. But anyway, I'm going to get that put back in there. Make sure that's lined up. I got to stop right now because this part I do need to do two-handed, but I didn't want to leave the other video as it was. I would have had everybody doing it backward and everybody be screwing up and everybody be yelling at me, so don't want that. But anyway, that's it for now. Alright, so here we go again. Tried to put it in there. That little ring fell out that I was just discussing. I tried to put it in. I also noticed that the O-ring here and the other one right there had a little dimple on the ends of it, like it had been crushed or something somewhere. I have a metric O-ring kit here. None of them seem to fit the same exact size, so what I did, I just took a little pick, gently pulled it out, flipped it over. Now it's nice and flat around all around the edges like it should be. Probably not the best way to do it, but you know, my main concern is having a seal on this side, not the other side, because that's where the fluid is going to be going through anyway. So but anyway, that being said, I had to take all this out because as soon as I went to go put this in, that ring fell down inside the transmission. I had to pull this all back out. I had to pull that centerpiece out, straighten up some of the clutches again, and get it back down in there. One thing I will say that I will mention is that little ring that goes on top, you'll notice once you have it out, that little ring on the outer ring there is beveled, so it's only going to go in there one way. You'll notice that. And you want to turn that centerpiece, the planetary gear and the sun gears, you want to turn it to where it engages every single clutch gear, and you'll know when it's all the way down. You may be able to turn those gears without it being all the way down, but just verify, because that ring going around the outside should sit nice and flush. If it's sitting up above and it's, you know, if it's sitting on that centerpiece and it's not all the way down flat, then you don't have it down all the way. So just want to point that out. Gonna see if I can get this in there while on camera. I had to put the gears back in there, so I'm trying to line it up. Sorry if my hand's in the way. Yep, so I'm just double checking, make sure I got everything good 100%, and hoping that ring doesn't fall out once again, because when it does, it's a big pain in the rear. So what I'm going to do, just to be on the safe side, I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm going to grab this pair of vice grips here. I could probably tip the transmission on its side and try and get it down in there. My only fear about doing that, though, is that all the clutches move, and I don't want them to do so. So I'm trying to get this in there straight. Once I have that in there like it should, there we go. Now it falls right in there, just like so. Now it's lined up just like it needs to be. So whew, that's a pain in the rear. So yeah, definitely use some lube on the back of that, on the back of this piece, on that ring, to keep it from falling out, because it definitely will if you don't have enough of it. So just want to throw that little tidbit out there to you. So I guess this is it for this video. I'll try and make some more portions and throw those together as I get the chance. I'm probably about pooped for today. So anyway, y'all have a good one.